Good afternoon. If you would please stand for the showing of colors and the singing of our national anthem. It will be sung by Ilaria Ipeki, a student in the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Albatroni, and I am the University Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. I am delighted to welcome everyone here with us today to Fairleigh Dickinson University's Academic Convocation for the 2022-2023 academic year. Before I introduce those members of the platform party who are not active participants in this afternoon's program, I would like to first introduce the 8th President of Fairleigh Dickinson University, Christopher Capuano. And as I announce members of the platform party, I kindly ask the audience to please hold your applause until I have introduced everyone. First, though, like I'm facilitating a wedding, please be seated. I'd like to introduce Hanya Ferrara, Senior Vice President for Finance and Administration. Robert Pignatello, Senior Vice President for University Operations. Jason Amor, Senior Vice President for University Advancement. Richard Frick, Vice President for Facilities. Neil Sturm, Vice President and Chief Information Officer. Kenneth Schneider, Associate Vice President and Dean of Undergraduate Admissions. Edward Silver, General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer. Dr. Jin Tan, President of the Faculty Senate. Dr. Patricia Malloy, Vice President of the Faculty Senate, and Anthony Adrignolo, the Grand Marshal of today's festivities and Senior University Faculty Member. Now, please join me in applause. If there are any retired faculty in attendance today, I ask that you please stand so that we may acknowledge you. Seeing none, I would like to acknowledge as well in absentia the faculty, staff, and students who are at our international campuses, both in Vancouver, British Columbia, and in Roxton in the United Kingdom, therefore not in attendance today, and to many others through previous teaching commitments who may be also watching on our video cast. It is now my pleasure to introduce the academic deans and the school directors who will introduce their new faculty. We ask that new faculty please stand when their name is called and that they remain standing until all names in their respective college or school have been called. And I would ask that you please hold your applause until all names are read in a particular college or school. I'd first like to introduce Benjamin Rifkin, Dean of the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences, who will introduce the new faculty within his college.
Thank you, Provost Albatroni. The first new faculty member in Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences, there's a mistake in the name in the program. And so it's not Richard Barrows, but it's Robert Barrows, and he goes by Bobby, Assistant Professor of Chemistry. Michael Cotto, please hold your applause. Michael Cotto, Assistant Professor of Literature. Michael DiStefano, Assistant Professor of Biological Sciences. Nolan Hennelly, Assistant Professor of Theater. James Jones, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice. Orion Kidder, Clinical Assistant Professor of English for Professional Success at the Vancouver campus. Minna Proctor, Senior Lecturer of Creative Writing. Adam Rudder, Assistant Professor of Humanities at the Vancouver campus. Cynthia Sobrero, Senior Lecturer of Literature, Languages, Writing, and the Humanities. Natalie Yang, Lecturer of Mathematics. And Guolang Zhu, Assistant Professor of Chemistry. Welcome to Becton College and Fairleigh Dickinson.
Now, I would like to call to the podium Pierre Balthazar, Dean of Silberman College of Business, who will introduce the new faculty in his college.
Thank you. The new faculty in the Silberman College of Business include Learjohn Kane, who is a lecturer in decision sciences. Odin Groth, who is an assistant professor of digital marketing and information systems. Ian Mercer, an assistant professor of management. And Jie Nie, an assistant professor of finance. Welcome to Silberman College and Fairleigh Dickinson University.
And now, I'd like to call to the podium Alfredo Tan, Director of the Gildart Hasse School of Computer Sciences and Engineering, who will introduce the new faculty within his school.
It's my great pleasure to introduce two new faculty in our school. We have Dr. Murad Boghera, Lecturer of Computer Science at the Vancouver campus, and Ms. Sunita Verma, the Lecturer of Mathematics at the Metropolitan campus. Welcome.
Now I will call to the podium Kate Spence, our Interim Director of the Peter Sammartino School of Education, who will introduce new faculty within her school.
Thank you. New faculty in the School of Education, and if you can stand so we can see who you are. Amy Cardes is an Assistant Professor of Higher Education. Siddhi Desai is an Assistant Professor of Education, and Jean Marie Farrow is an Assistant Professor of Education.
And now I will call to the podium John Neeser, Director of the International School of Hospitality, Sports, and Tourism Management, who will introduce his new faculty within his school.
Introducing Michael Leva, Assistant Professor of Hotel and Restaurant and Tourism Management, and Kane Papas, Senior Lecturer of Hospitality Department.
And now we'll call to the podium Annie Rohan, Dean of the Henry Becton School of Nursing, who will introduce the new faculty member in her school.
So the School of Nursing and Allied Health proudly introduces Lisa Ann Kelly, a lecturer in nursing.
Now Anastasia Rivkin, Dean of the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, introducing the new faculty within her school.
Thank you, Michael. We have several faculty joining the school. Cassandra Diosera, Clinical Assistant Professor of Physician Assistant Studies. Erica Kita, Clinical Assistant Professor of Physician Assistant Studies. Christina Merks, Associate Professor of Occupational Therapy. Anna Nogid, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Caitlin Stanford, Clinical Assistant Professor of Occupational Therapy. And Nicole Zmuda, Assistant Professor of Social Work. Welcome to School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences at FDU.
At this time, I'll invite Ben Freer, Director of the School of Psychology and Counseling, to introduce the new faculty within his school.
Thank you, Michael. It's my privilege and honor to introduce to the School of Psychology and Counseling Gregory Bartosik, Assistant Professor of Psychology, Narmeen Hamsho, Assistant Professor of Psychology, Erica Oak, Assistant Professor of Psychology, Vanessa Vitiello, Clinical Lecturer of Psychology, and Mansik Yoon, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Welcome to the School of Psychology and Counseling and FDU.
Now, Peter Woolley, Director of the School of Public and Global Affairs, will introduce the new faculty within his school.
Thank you, Michael, and I'll say this in a very loud voice because these three faculty are in Vancouver. Afsana Javadi is Lecturer of Computer Security and Digital Forensics. Louise Rahal is Assistant Professor of Administrative Sciences, and Tamana Singh Dow is Assistant Professor of Global Technology Administration. Welcome to Fairleigh Dickinson.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our newly tenured faculty of the academic year 2021-2022. Our newly tenured faculty have been recognized and approved by all of our academic leadership and of the Board of Trustees. The pathway to tenure is neither a short nor an easy one, and I commend your commitment to Fairleigh Dickinson University as you continue along in your disciplines. I note that many will also have been promoted during this time, so I will use their current titles. First, Dr. Bojana Berek-Stojcik, Associate Professor of Public Health in the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Won J. Choi, Assistant Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Mechanical Engineering Technology in the Gildart Haas School of Computer Science and Engineering. Mohammed El Shair, Associate Professor of Biochemistry within Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences. Kathleen Frey, Associate Professor of Pharmaceutical Sciences in the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Jae Young Han, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice, also in the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Farez Junaid, Associate Professor of Civil Engineering and Civil Engineering Technology in the Gildart Haas School of Computer Science and Engineering. Yao King Liu, Associate Professor of Cybersecurity and Information Assurance in the Gildart Haas School of Computer Science and Engineering. Eleanor McClinchy, Associate Professor of Psychology in the School of Psychology and Counseling. Scott McGregor, Associate Professor of Accounting within Silberman College of Business. Aiz Elif Ozdener Poyraz, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice in the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Elizabeth Panuccio, Associate Professor of Criminal Justice in Becton College. And Shreya Patel, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice in the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Please recognize all of these faculty members for their achievements.
Good afternoon and welcome. And thank you for coming to this year's convocation. I hope you all had a wonderful summer and you are as excited as we are to begin a new academic year. And I have to tell you how happy I am this year in particular in that we are beginning a school year in which the primary challenge is not COVID. I was wondering for a long time if that would ever come. I'm not meaning to suggest by any means that we're beyond COVID, but we are thinking about other things now, as we should be, and we have other challenges as well to deal with. So thank you again for all that you do for the university. Well, it's my privilege this afternoon to introduce our keynote speaker, who, like many in the room today, bleeds our school colors, burgundy and blue. Michael Albatroni is an FDU alumnus. He's a former department chair, a former dean of a very successful school. You know it well, the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. And when we conducted a search for a new provost, university provost last fall, he was the individual in the applicant pool that stood out most. He was the applicant who most impressed the search committee, and he was the applicant who was most widely endorsed across the university community. So my decision to appoint him was fairly easy. And during the last 9 months, Michael has really hit the ground running, as you would expect with an internal candidate. He has identified key academic strategies, has been a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, has reached out to community colleges to forge new partnerships, and he has heavily emphasized and very importantly, the personal approach that the university needs at this time, reaching out to university members on all campuses and engaging with all constituents far and wide to learn more about their thoughts as to what FDU's challenges, strengths, and eventually our future will be. And today, he will talk to us about some of those key priorities, as he sees them, that lie ahead for us. So without further ado, please join me in re-welcoming our new university provost, Dr. Michael Albatroni.
Thank you all very much. It is truly an honor for me to be standing here today to address you, our faculty, in the tradition of the convocation, and to address many of our staff members and members of the community, both here in New Jersey as well as far beyond. It is a delight to really be able to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about what I think of in terms of our future, which I'm calling getting back to basics. I've been in this role now for fast approaching 9 months, and it's my first opportunity to actually address all of you collectively as one university faculty, though I have done a great deal of listening and learning within our colleges, schools, departments, at the Faculty Senate, and across many areas of faculty, staff, and student life. I was fortunate to begin this role without a very steep learning curve as someone coming from outside the university, having been a member of the faculty here at FDU since 2003. And while I know a great deal about the institution, including its traditions and the valuable roles it plays within higher education and the ecosystem here in New Jersey, I also know what many of you do as well, that our industry faces a sobering reality that's thrust upon us by a confluence of many circumstances that seem to be coming together to create a perfect storm. This was clear prior to my stepping in the role. I still stepped in, and it's even clearer now. Taking a step back, however, much of my learning over the past months has actually allowed me a great deal of opportunity for reflection about our profession, the institution, and the fundamental role that both higher education and Fairleigh Dickinson play for our students and for our society. And I suspect that, like most of you, I didn't enter academia for the lure of salaries and signing bonuses, but rather because fundamentally, I suspect for most of us, we saw an opportunity to invoke a love and quest for learning that was in us, that was much the same way that we could invoke an experience for others. You all loved, like I do, the opportunity to be immersed into a culture of learning with the amazing opportunity that we all have to be truly forever young in mind and spirit when we set foot on a college campus to teach the next year's worth of incoming students and watch as their college experience unfolds, much the way it takes us back to our own academic journey. For me, this has true resonance because my own academic journey began here at FDU. But the notion of a college campus as a bastion for higher level thinking and the pursuit of knowledge harkens many of us back to the days of coming to our campus ourselves, books in hand, ready to engage attentively and hold on every word that a professor spoke, to highlight every passage that was in a notebook or in a reading, and to be able to distill, study, and if many of you were like me, to tab and file and organize notes to be able to hone in on what you were learning and get ready for that next exam or paper. And I suspect that for many of you, this passion stemmed much further back than your first day of college, back to high school, middle school, elementary school, or in some cases even before. I know my own family would lament the days that I would have an incessant love of office supplies and organization, even long before I ever needed to set foot inside a Staples to buy a binder or a file folder. I suspect many of you lament that similar journey of your walk as well. Each of you, I suspect, also had stories of your youth where you were diligently focused on learning and becoming a student long before you ever carried that title in an official role. It is truly, more often than not, the personality profile of the academic. I suspect that all of us envisioned our role of professor much to be like we see in the movies or portrayed in the way as being the sage on the stage, talking to a quested for love young people who were listening and thirsting for knowledge and hanging on every word we said. This vision, which we often see portrayed in the idyllic sense, comes with students well prepared and ready to learn, engage, and grow. And it comes with the sole purpose of them hanging on every word, fully vested into the ideal that hanging their hat on a college experience was for the purpose of enriching their academic journey through the knowledge we provided. The idealized perspective of higher education is both familiar and alluring, with it likely being the scenario for much of our undergraduate and graduate journey ourselves, while often serving as the depiction of the higher education that we've seen portrayed throughout recent history. For a generation, the populace sought out college campuses as a place for true advancement, both of ideals, careers, and opportunities, and we, as the academy, were portrayed as steadfast purveyors of both knowledge and opportunity. However, it's no secret that the tides have turned, and in some respects, they've turned both quickly and drastically. The question of the value of higher education is now front and center around almost every discussion at dinner tables of families of prospective students, at the highest levels of government and public discourse, and seemingly overnight, the narrative has shifted away from a college education as being a gateway to the future of opportunity, and has reversed course to now being what's often portrayed as an overpriced credential that's non-differentiable and in some cases not necessary. Recent articles over the past few months, many that I've probably sent to all of you, talk about employers doing things like removing the college degree required statement from their job postings. And instead, high-profile employers of choice have begun shifting the narrative towards seeking employees who are quote-unquote still skill credentialed. That can include through badges, certificates, or other demonstrable evidence of their achievements around certain deliverables. And lest we believe that the debate is foundationally about cost in and of itself, community colleges across the state are also emptying out. This in spite of the fact that tuition levels for many of the students packaged with aid and other grants actually make this education free. Double-digit enrollment drops year over year have been the norm for two-year institutions, and actually in speaking recently and visiting several community colleges and speaking with their presidents, one quote-unquote says, you can't give the product away. Clearly the winds have changed, and if this were the only challenge facing our industry, we would have our work cut out for us. But I hate to tell you that there are other stark realities that lie ahead. The enrollment cliff that we've long referred to but often thought of as the headlights in the distance is coming upon us with significance. I'm sure you've all heard this discussion about decreased numbers of students coming through the K-12 educational system as a result of decreasing birth rates during the Great Recession of 2007, 2008. This generation soon begins to age out to college and showcases a nearly 20% decrease in students of college age for our region, with many counties in New Jersey observing that greater than 1 out of every 5 seats currently in high schools are unfilled over the past 10-year comparator period within our state's high school system. Exacerbating this problem is an exodus of population from our area as people begin to work from anywhere and pursue places to live beyond the tri-state area. We begin to see people reassessing priorities and migrating out of these very high density and high cost areas that we reside in, with New Jersey being one of the top 3 states for population decrease during the past several years. And that creates a significant additional challenge regarding numbers of college-age students available for enrollment within our institutions within both the state and the region. Much of this reality was forthcoming, and much of it's been forecasted and predicted for years. What could never have been prognosticated was the realities of what COVID and our COVID response has done to our young people. We have sadly taken 3 years of academic, social, emotional, and behavioral development and provided an alternative that was often inadequate, insufficient, and in some cases terribly destructive. We've taken a socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic gap and blown it wide open as a society, with students of means having access to resources and support that students of lesser means had no access to. Staggering numbers of students have simply disappeared from the education system, with disproportionate effects observed within populations that are most disadvantaged and the need of the support that a school environment can provide. And of grave concern in the reality facing young people is what we see regarding their development. A student of age 18 is emotionally, socially, and academically like a 15-year-old. Additionally, the already significant mental health challenges facing this generation have now become a perfect storm of anxiety, depression, and staggering numbers of students in crisis. Recent statistics suggest that 1 out of every 4 adolescents experienced suicidal ideation. Greater than 1 out of every 2 experienced a major depressive episode over the past 2 years. And a staggering number of young people are now on medications to treat anxiety and depression. Additionally, there are academic and learning gaps that suggest students academically adrift. State scores for reading, math, and writing suggest in some cases a 2+ year delay for progress in students, and it seems that much of the solution has been to stop testing and assessing just so we don't learn how bad the situation is. So the goal in all of this is not to create a bleak picture and start the academic year with no hope, but rather for us to set a path forward grounded in reality, but focused on the challenges we face, in the full hope that we truly see the opportunities ahead to carve out our place as an institution amidst the fires that burn within our industry. We need to stop asking some questions. We need to start asking others. We need to stop asking the question, are students college ready? We need to start asking the question, are colleges student ready? Equally important, we need to change our aspirations institutionally from being the university we went to and be the university that values the principles on which we were founded, to provide opportunity by meeting learners where they are, transforming their lives with the personalized experiences that develop them, and provide them the opportunity to see and experience a world beyond their own, opening doors to opportunities for upward social mobility that they would never have achieved but for their experiences here at Fairleigh Dickinson University. I can assure you it will require a change of mindset. We need to change our ways and perspectives from looking at the different ways that students don't belong in college and start to think about the ways that we can help them find their path along this journey. We need to change our perspectives from being punitive to being developmental, and we need to adapt our products and our services across every area to understand the stories, the fears, the barriers, and the journeys of our students, and realize that if we are truly going to meet them where they are, we have to first find out the path that they've taken to get here. We need to understand that the traditional student is no more, for even the path of a traditional age student is now very non-traditional, and the world now requires a focal shift to a mindset of lifelong learning. For many of us, myself included, it means letting go of something we've revered about the academic journey, usually our own as a point of reference, and growing and changing our mindset for a new day, a new generation, and a new world that desperately needs us. For those of you that know me, you may know that I pride myself first and foremost on being a parent. And parenting has taught me a great deal about life, which I try and draw as parallels between raising children and the many other aspects of life. I remember someone sharing a poem some time ago about raising differently abled children and talking about generally what happens when you lose your vision for what your children's paths look like and they differ from what you believe, hope, or dream they should be. And it strikes a chord, I suspect, for many of you, both in personal and professional life, as you see your own children or your own family or friends' children beginning to take a different direction, moving towards a different identity from what you might have envisioned it to be. In many cases, it means that you have things different, but in some cases it means mourning that difference and then seeing an opportunity to love and embrace the new thing nonetheless. I believe that this change of view is paramount to our future. A new day has come, and it's come quicker than any of us could have likely thought or hoped. The pandemic has taken 20 years of evolution, and it's accelerated it to 20 months worth of time. To survive and to thrive and to grow in the current landscape, we must change. Our institution must look different, it must act different, and it must value different things because higher education will look different, and it is our only reality to be on the path leading the way forward. I can say few things with absolute certainty, but I will say this. When Fairleigh Dickinson University is to persevere and be a viable institution moving forward, things will change and we will have become more nimble and more streamlined. There needs to be a lot of introspection into what we are, into our core mission, and how that mission aligns with the needs of our learners and our society to determine a path forward. But I say this to encourage you. There is more than a welcoming place for Fairleigh Dickinson University, even amidst a tumultuous and dramatic shrinking of the higher education footprint in this country. There is a place for us largely because our institution was founded on principles and ideals that are perhaps more relevant now, 80 years from the beginning of our institutional story, than when they were founded on day one. We have always been, from our inception, founded on transforming lives, changing futures, and realizing dreams for students who needed opportunity brought to them. And for all of you, our faculty, our staff, our students, and anyone who's a member of this community, there is a place for each of you to be the very thing that students of today and tomorrow need and can't do without. As the knowledge economy completely changes, there's a great deal of instant access to facts and information, making much of what we do, or used to do, less relevant to the day-to-day educational experience. However, our faculty's place in this new space is to be curators of knowledge, to be the stewards and navigators of our learners, and to be the ones to teach them how to critically think, engage them as mentors and guideposts, and to support them through the journey, the struggles, and the obstacles that this educational path will bring. As I hearken back to my own undergraduate student experience at FDU 25 years ago, all of my impactful memories and transformational experiences were not the result of bricks and mortar, not the result of flashy courses and offerings, but were truly relational with the people and relationships that I built that changed the course of who I was. 5 weeks into my first semester of freshman year, I was engaged by Professor Frank Lang, professor of chemistry at Florham, who asked me on a whim to participate in a research project with him. I changed my major, found my calling and passion, and never looked back. I was mentored throughout my journey by people who cared about me, my story, and my success. It was actually a staggering and stark contrast to my graduate experience when I went on to complete it at Princeton, where I was a first-year graduate student, and I would often joke that I would learn it on Monday and teach it on Tuesday. And the students who had access to me, the 22-year-old trying to figure it all out himself, had no or little direct access to faculty members, no real support or mentoring, but rather a reliance on their own intellect to help them navigate their own path. I often say that it's relatively easy to produce good outcomes for every student when you take the class valedictorian from every high school in America and take on the role of educating them. Our institutional calling to educate and guide students who truly need us to help them in navigating a path forward towards success is a greater, more authentic, and more important institutional calling. As everything changes, go ahead, applaud for me. As everything changes and students become less and less prepared and ready to navigate their own journey, they will need an academic, social, and emotional support to keep them on path when everything seems simply too big to overcome. This is where we shine. This is what we do because it's what we've always done. It's our institution's legacy, it will be our greatest asset, and it will be the very story that we tell to students when we tell them that you belong here at Fairleigh Dickinson University. At a time when everything is changing, the need for support, guidance, and an educational mentor willing to take students on an academic journey is alive, well, and more needed than ever. And it's the core of our institutional history. During my first few months, I've been doing a lot of reading, and one thing I came across during my time was a speech that I found remarkably interesting. I found a published speech that seems particularly relevant, titled "The Dangers That Face American Colleges and Universities." And it goes on to list these concerns in sequence. Institutions are getting too large and complex. Empire building. entering an era of super deluxe building and construction programs, a lessening on the emphasis of good teaching, too many groups legislating colleges and universities, too much turnover. The cost of higher education is sky high. And finally, in spite of more money being spent per student, the college student is becoming more uncontrolled in personal life than ever before. The author of this speech then goes to speak about the design of a new model for a university being created, one that changed the focus and view of just what a university can and should be. He says, people think of a university in terms of buildings, numbers of students, or complexity of curricula, and yet it is in terms of service to the students that we find the greatest meaning to our lives. This service, we feel, is by far the most important aspect of our institution. This is the magic web that holds it together and gives us the elan that is the spirit of the institution. So I ask you, does that sound relevant? Does it sound contemporary? And does it sound exciting? It sounds to me like it could have been written last week, but it wasn't. It was authored by Peter Sammartino, the founder of our institution, during a speech in the early 1950s as he spoke about the challenges facing higher education and the mission of Fairleigh Dickinson University to overcome these challenges. This vision was relevant then, and I would argue it is perhaps more than ever relevant now. It is the core identity on which we were founded, and it is the core message of our founder himself. So as we look to the future, maybe it's also time for us to look to the past. And maybe, just maybe, our successes can be found as we get back to basics. I look forward to taking this journey with all of you. I'm not going to tell you it will be easy. I'm not going to tell you it will always be agreeable, but I am truly excited for what lies ahead. I know that famous author John Maxwell once said, change is inevitable and growth is optional. And I ask for you to all join me on a path ahead where we change and grow together for the betterment of our institution, our students, and our future. I look forward to taking this journey with all of you. I thank you for your time today, and I thank you for being partners on this journey that lies ahead. And now as we turn our attention to recognizing the examples of the day-to-day that we have here that makes us truly an institution that is transformational, both for our students and for our community, we're going to turn our attention to recognizing our faculty and staff, first starting with the presentation of the recipients of the 2022 Distinguished Faculty Awards, who are being honored for their excellence and their outstanding contributions to the university. And I would first like to ask Benjamin Rifkin, Dean of Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences, to present our first award.
Thank you. The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship is Professor Judy Minellis. I'd like to ask Judy Minellis to come to the platform now. Throughout history, artists have sought inspiration in the science of their time. Judy Minellis' art draws special inspiration from the fields of brain theory and neuroscience by creating visually complex, often delicate, and sometimes haunting porcelain and mixed media sculptures. She offers us a window into the inner workings of the mind. At Fairleigh Dickinson University, Judy has helped promote a community of scholars, says Patricia Malloy, professor of biology. She and Judy share a mutual interest in examining the intersection of art and science. Their collaboration led Judy to incorporate some of Dr. Malloy's own microscopic images into her cellular networks and convergency exhibitions. A distinguished artist with an international reputation, Professor Minellis is no less thoughtful as an educator, beloved by her students. Jeffrey Weinman, former dean of the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Science, observed that Professor Minellis always finds the time to work closely with her students. She invites them to engage in hands-on experience at her art studio in New York City. Many of her students also collaborate on Professor Minellis' Secret Gardens project on the Florham campus, featuring the works of current students and alumni of the Studio Arts program. George Cochran, professor of Fine Arts and Studio Arts and co-director of the Fine Arts and Studio Arts program, says that by the very nature of her art, Professor Minellis challenges her students and her colleagues to define for themselves what art can be and what it can do in the world. He notes, our students are fortunate to have such a mentor in the classroom. Most importantly, Professor Minellis uses her art to create new knowledge and understanding and generously shares those findings with others. Her work defines the very essence of research and scholarship. In recognition of her contributions, we are delighted to present Professor Judy Minellis with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship.
It's really an honor to get this award. I'm really especially grateful to the FDU community with so many wonderful colleagues, administrators, staff, and students, as well as my family and friends. Neither of my parents attended college. They were both very smart, creative people who often took us to art and science museums, where my love of research in support of art making was probably born. A special thanks goes to my father for teaching me as a very young girl how to use tools, something that was uncommon at the time and hopefully is no longer. I have been a professional artist in New York City since my early 20s and had the pleasure to teach at FDU for over 20 years now. I'm fortunate to have this job teaching what I love in the School of the Arts. During this time, I've appreciated generous grant support for my artwork and research. The Becton College faculty grant in aid of research has provided me with invaluable assistance and allowed me to pursue many artistic opportunities as well as research experiences for our students. I was honored to receive the Becton College Teacher of the Year Award in the past and will continue to support our FDU art alum in their professional activities. The ideas and research of my recent artwork has focused on interpretations of the human body. Grant support allowed me to visit the Cajal Institute in Madrid, Spain, where I had the unique privilege of privately viewing the historic scientific drawings of Nobel Prize winner Santiago Ramón y Cajal. He's often credited as the father of modern neuroscience for his work on the neuron doctrine. His remarkable studies of neurons have provided a rich resource for much of my current artwork. The scientists here today might appreciate a lovely moment I had when we were at this institute, where I got to not only see, but hold and be photographed with his Nobel Prize, which was in 1906. I did that not in 1906. We live in an exciting time where more and more creative people are collaborating across disciplines, and it has been my pleasure as a visual artist to work with established professionals in other fields. I'm especially interested in creative interactions between art and science. It's been my privilege over the years to exhibit my artwork in many museums and galleries. I've created many site-specific projects in historic locations, including a synagogue and cathedrals. I look forward to many more years of making my artwork and continuing to share with my students. Thank you so very much for this wonderful honor.
Thank you, Judy, and congratulations. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Alfredo Tan, Director of the Gildart Haas School of Computer Sciences and Engineering, who will present the next award.
Thank you, Michael. The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Service is Professor Kalyan Mondal. Feldman, could you please come to the podium? Dr. Kalyan Mondal is Professor of Electrical Engineering, the founding director of FDU Center for Cybersecurity and Information Assurance, and the coordinator of our BS Information Technology program. Since joining the faculty of FDU Gildart Haas School of Computer Sciences and Engineering in the year 2006, Kalyan Mondal has amassed a remarkable record of service. Central to the success of every great university is collaboration and consensus building. Kalyan has proven that he excels at both through his leadership and service on the countless university committees. This essential and time-consuming work too often goes unrecognized, but is vital to our mission and our goals. He also played an instrumental role in the university and school accreditation, developed numerous undergraduate and graduate courses, being an invaluable resource for FDU's Vancouver campus, and created innovative interdisciplinary opportunities for FDU students. Kalyan has been equally generous in sharing his talents with organizations such as the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, where his contribution to the North Jersey section and to our own IEEE student branch have been consistently recognized. But nowhere is his dedication and impact more obvious than the FDU stature in the field of cybersecurity. As a founding director of the Center for Cybersecurity and Information Assurance, Kalyan was instrumental in securing the university coveted designation as a National Center for Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense Education by the U.S. Department of Defense, the National Security Agency, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. He also spearheaded the annual Cybersecurity and Information Assurance Symposium that secured FDU reputation on the national stage. His colleagues praised Kalyan's impressive and leadership foresight in delivering on the promise of academic programming in cybersecurity. Through his efforts, FDU students have gained a competitive career edge plus prestigious cyber scholarship from DoD and NSA. The university has also greatly benefited from more than $2 million in funding that he and his team have secured for new programs, curriculum design, and more. Today, in recognition of his commitment to advancing our university internally and externally, we present Kalyan Mondal with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service.
Thank you all for coming and giving me the opportunity to say a few words to you. Thank you, Dr. Tan, for giving such a great introduction of me. I don't think I have done much. I just came the other day in 2006 and thought that, I'm going to teach a few courses here and there and, probably try hard to get tenure and so on. Believe me, I was in industry for 24 years at Bell Labs. When I came here, my wife and my family members, they were all skeptical. They said, well, is this the right path that you are going to? I mean, you have been in the industry for so many years. Would you be able to cut into academia? I said, well, let me give it a try. I was skeptical at that point as well. But with time, things really worked out. Again, thanks to all of you, many of you really collaborated and helped me grow into the academia. Without your support, I could not have been here. Dr. Tan himself has been a great source of inspiration, and he gave me a lot of freedom to try new ideas. Without that, if he was really pushing me, do this, do that, I probably would have been stymied and would not have this chance to talk to you on this podium. So thanks to him for that. The second level of thing that really was a big thing for me was my collaboration with computer science department in the Florham campus. I think the Florham campus faculty open-handedly took my advice and worked with me. Dr. Tan mentioned about this designation of National Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity or Cyber Defense. This particular recognition has been only gathered by 400 institutions all over USA. And there are 5,000 institutions here in the US. So you can see that it's less than 10% of institutions who have this recognition. And this recognition would not have come without real collaboration between three campuses, Metro, Vancouver, as well as Florham. All three campuses had something to do and pitch in into the success of this. The end result is our students are really benefiting out of it. They are the ones who are getting the opportunity to get the DoD cyber scholarships. Since 2019, every year, students are getting this prestigious and very, very lucrative award. And it could not have been possible without the help and cooperation that I got from many, many faculty members here. So I would really like to end by saying that the collaboration teamwork really pays off, and I would really continue to be a team player and be able to help out as best as I can as the time progresses. I must thank you for all listening to me, and basically I want to not stop until I actually thank my family and my daughters. They have been the biggest source of my encouragement and support, and without them, I would not have been here today. So thank you all. Thanks for listening to me, and be ready to collaborate. Thank you again.
So congratulations, Kalyan, on this achievement. And now I would like to invite Anastasia Rivkin, Dean of the School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, to present our final faculty award.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching is Professor Shreya Patel. FDU School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences first opened its doors 10 years ago, committed to offering an innovative, value-based, and student-centered learning experience. And Shreya Patel has embraced this mission fully, even in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, when remote learning became the norm. Since joining the university, Shreya has distinguished herself for her ability to dissect complex pharmacotherapy topics into components that her students can more readily comprehend and master. I've seen it myself. Her colleagues who describe her as a role model often sit in her classes to observe and learn from her. Shreya advocates tirelessly for her students. Her work on schools' curriculum and assessment committees and on the North American Pharmacist Licensure Examination Task Force has been instrumental in advancing the school's reputation and record of success. Dangmi Kim, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice, says, "Every year, Dr. Patel never fails to surprise me and other faculty with her ideas. When describing one particularly challenging course, she noted, as I was observing her, many students were having the visible aha moment. Her students credit Shreya's empathy and adaptability, her interactive and engaged approach to teaching, and the generosity of her mentorship as key to their success as professionals." A student in Shreya's cardiology and pulmonology class says, "Dr. Patel didn't just teach us to teach it. The emphasis was learning, not just memorizing. We had to think outside the box." Another student notes, "I was learning to never forget again." Never has there been a greater need for outstanding teachers like Shreya to prepare skilled and compassionate pharmacists for the challenges they will face as healthcare providers. For her transformational impact on both her students and their future patients, we present Shreya Patel with a Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching.
Thank you, Dean Rifkin, Provost Albatroni, President Capuano, distinguished guests, Dean, faculty, and staff. When I began my education and training in pharmacy, I was most certain that I was destined to work at a pharmaceutical company. I had envisioned myself living that pharma life. I quickly changed during my clinical rotations when I was thoroughly impressed by a clinical pharmacist I was training under at the Brigham and Women's Surgical Intensive Care Unit. There was something so fulfilling about showing up for 6 a.m. patient care rounds, where a team of physicians and nurses relied on you for drug therapy recommendations. I had a newfound respect for my preceptor and the impact he made on a daily basis. I wanted to be like him, and I decided to pursue residency training at the Penn Medicine Princeton Medical Center. While there, on a casual day, I was discussing drug therapies with pharmacy students. My program director asked me if I'd considered pursuing academia. He had been observing me training and teaching pharmacy students. The idea of teaching in a pharmacy program had never crossed my mind. And so as I worked towards finishing my residency training, I decided I would combine my passion for patient care and the recently discovered talent in teaching, and I took on a position as an assistant professor of pharmacy. That was 13 years ago, and since then, I strive to help my students identify their talent, to be their inspiration, just like my preceptors and program directors were for me. I strive to help them shine in areas they do well in and to continually push them to aim higher. It was that one unexpected interaction with my preceptor that changed my career path, and so every interaction with my students matter, because you don't know when and where you're making that lasting impact or creating a goal for that student to achieve. When I was putting my packet together for this nomination, I reached out to 3 of my students requesting a letter of support. Almost immediately, all 3 responded with an yes. They even sent me the letters before the requested date. It is a two-way street. As much as our students need us, we need them equally. They believe and root for our successes as we do for them. I have my students to thank for being the educator that I am today. I most certainly would not be here without my mom and dad and sister for their countless sacrifices. Look, Mom, I'm getting an award. The values you instilled in me, I use it every day while training and teaching my students. My husband, Getan, for his unconditional love and understanding, and his amazing parents for their unwavering support as a professional working mom. My children, Aiden and Mila, because of who I am a more compassionate and empathetic teacher. You teach me to be patient with my students on an almost regular basis. The amazing and talented team at the School of Pharmacy that I'm so proud to be a part of. Dean Rifkin, former Dean of Pharmacy Provost Albatroni, for believing in me when I try something new in the classroom, for your confidence, your support, and your guidance. And last but not the least, the selection committee for recognizing my teaching. Anyone who has received this award knows the emotion that go with it. And for me, there is no better honor than to be selected and recognized by the committee who are exemplar educators themselves. Thank you.
Congratulations to Shreya and to all 3 of our nominees. And now it gives me great pleasure to turn our attention to our 2022 University Pillar Awards, who are being honored for their outstanding contributions to the university. And I would like to ask Robert Pignatello, Senior Vice President for University Operations, to present these awards.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Michael. It is an honor for me to help us recognize exemplary service by our non-instructional staff who are so critical to student success. First, I'd like to invite to the stage our first recipient, Dawn Grasso. Dawn? Dawn is Assistant Director of Financial Aid here at the Metropolitan Campus. And we now get to embarrass you with a half a page of accolades. Okay. Dawn Grasso has brought her high energy and in-depth expertise to FDU for the last 15 years, and in the process has continually embodied what is best in our community. With an admirable blend of patience and perseverance, Dawn has helped countless students understand the complexities of the FAFSA and financial aid and get the support they need to succeed. With an inviting smile and seemingly endless supply of compassion, some of which is on display right now, Dawn helps students and parents feel at ease. Despite the stress often involved in talking about money, Dawn makes everyone she's dealing with, students and parents alike, feel relaxed, comfortable, and secure in the road they are taking. Her concerns extend beyond her office. She's accessible day and night and works tirelessly to make sure her students, or her kids, as she often refers to them as, are doing well in all their endeavors. With a perpetually positive outlook, she often sacrifices her time and resources to make certain her students stay on track. She's equally devoted to her colleagues and always displays a positive attitude and a helping hand. For such concern and dedication, we take great pride in recognizing Dawn as a pillar of FDU. Congratulations, Dawn.
I want to first thank you for this award. I was honored that I was even nominated. From my early days working at the Disney store through my entire professional career, I've always tried my hardest to do my best to make people smile and to help people. Because that is the type of service I wish I could have. Call it corny, but I enjoy helping people and the gratification that I get from seeing them all smile. When I first came to FDU, I was a completely inexperienced kid in anything, especially in the financial aid field, and I'm extremely grateful for the patience that everyone had with me. Yes, I'm talking about you, Harry Tung, and you, Teresa Call. The two of you thought enough to take a chance on me. So yes, I'm your fault. Thank you. A special thank you to Renee Volek, Carmen Ferrari, and Arlene Marte, as well as all my former managers for the opportunities that I've been given during these past 15 years, as well as my coworkers, past and present. Nora, Diane, Kathy, Carol, and Marion. I need to mention my awesome Florum family as well, too. They've supported me through numerous things, and I'm thankful for them as well. Emily, Kelly, Magali, Maddie, Sadie. Sorry, it's my throat. Special thanks also goes to my boyfriend, Vince, for all the support that he's provided me for so many years. I appreciate him, and I am grateful for him. Thank you, Vince. I also need to thank my dysfunctional, amazing family as well. I am forever grateful for them. My daughter, Mackenzie, as well. 23 years, it's been a ride. My dad and his beautiful wife, Seal, are here to join me today in this amazing celebration. And my amazing mother and her husband, Ed Lynch, otherwise known as the resident locksmith here at FDU. They're in a pre-planned the vacation in Florida. So thanks for coming, Dad. I appreciate it. You're the coolest. In closing, I just want to say that I love FDU, and it is such an awesome place to work. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love my students. And I have made so many connections and so many different friendships throughout the years, and I am forever grateful. These 15 years have been a ride, and I'm ready for the next 15. Thank you so much.
Next, we invite to the stage Louise Wilbon, Senior Enrollment Services Clerk at the Forum campus. Louise has been an integral member of the FDU community for more than 20 years. Serving as a Senior Enrollment Services Clerk, she's worked closely with students, faculty, and staff, and administrators to help them achieve their goals. A terrific ambassador for the university, Louise is very knowledgeable about all aspects of enrollment services, and she also has a strong understanding of the history and special mission of the university. She brings a personal approach to problem solving and helps students understand and effectively navigate the registration process and other student account and billing issues. A great listener, Louise also brings warmth, care, and respect to all of her interactions. She goes out of her way to ensure that our students not only have the answers that they need, but also feel empowered to move forward in their academic journeys. Whether she's working with students, faculty, or staff, Louise is very generous of her time and expertise and takes great pride in everything that she does. An active and visible presence in our community, Louise is a great supporter of various campus activities and student events. For her extraordinary service to the university, and most especially to our students, we are pleased today to honor Louise as a pillar of FDU.
I am so honored to receive this award. When I received the letter, I was not only had I been nominated, but I was selected to receive the Pillar Award. I was speechless. I never imagined in my life that I would be standing here. When I started out here 25 years ago, I started in the mailroom, working for Pitney Bowes. I started on this campus, and 3 months later, they sent me to the Florham campus. I got there, and I was the supervisor of the mailroom. I had to deliver the mail in the mansion. And there's no elevator. So I'm pulling big books like this up and down 3 flights of stairs twice a day. So I called my supervisor and I said, I can't do this. This work is for a man, not me. I can't drag these books up and down stairs all day. So he moved me down to where the School of Pharmacy is. It was the Exxon company there at the time. And I was there, but I said I really want to work for FDU. So I kept putting in applications. The first time, my boss, Carol, interviewed me, but she hired someone else. But I didn't give up. About 2 weeks later, I tried it again, and I got hired that time. So that's been 25 years ago. And thank you, Carol. And I just want to thank my family also, because my daughter at the time was maybe, 16, 17? And she had to help take care of my oldest grandchild. And I just want to thank her for doing all of that and sticking with me through everything I've done over the years. And thank my FDU family. I don't say co-workers because we are like family. The Enrollment Services Department. And this is the first time I ever stood up and spoke in front of an audience, so I'm nervous. But I'm so grateful, and thank you all for voting for me and nominating me for this award. Okay.
So it's been a wonderful afternoon of recognizing the best of what Fairleigh Dickinson University offers to our students. But equally, I would challenge that all of you are the best of what Fairleigh Dickinson University offers. And as we embark upon the common mission of bringing an impact to students and generations that lie ahead, as we take this exciting journey, I am excited to go on it with you. I thank you for your participation today. I thank you for your support of our educational mission. I thank you for the work you do for our students. And I look forward to working and walking alongside of all of you on the journey ahead. I hope that you have a wonderful, safe, and healthy academic year. I look forward to seeing you outside, seeing you all throughout the academic year, and thank you for your support of our students and what we do. Have a great day.